So what happens when your clients are not in one central location? How do you grow your business outside of your local community? You can go online and host a webinar. Technology today has made it easier than ever before to host virtual client seminars, and the benefits are truly endless. So stop wasting your time and marketing dollars planning and preparing value-add presentations months in advance. You can go online and do it live. Welcome to Running a Successful Webinar. I'm Heather Burdett, a consultant on the practice management team here at Sun Life. Our team is dedicated to helping you run a profitable practice. Our digital communication programs are designed to teach you how to be there for your clients when you can't meet with them face-to-face. Today, we're going to learn about a number of webinar best practices so you can engage your clients and nurture leads. Let's get started. So on the agenda to start, we'll go back to the basics. What is a webinar? Next, we'll discuss the business case behind our topic. Why should you host a webinar anyways? And more importantly, we'll cover a number of best practices that fall under the 4 categories: plan, promote, presentation, and post-webinar. I like to call these the 4 Ps. What is a webinar? A webinar is an interactive online seminar. There's usually a host or a moderator that is joined by a presenter who speaks to a specific topic. It can be live or pre-recorded depending on your timeline and your webinar objectives. So for example, this webinar today is pre-recorded because our objective is not to generate a number of leads. Our objective is for this webinar to be distributed widely so we can inspire as many advisors as possible to embrace webinars and run them effectively. They are usually 30 minutes to 1 hour long and include video, slideshow, and other visual aids. Most live webinars end with a Q&A session out loud or through the chat box. So why should you host a webinar anyways? Well, they are a cost-effective alternative to hosting an in-person client seminar event. They're very flexible. So as you know, everyone and anyone on the line can be remote, even you as the presenter. They help build your brand and give you an online presence. And just like your products and services, they become a value-add offer that you have on your shelf. They also help you generate leads to grow your business. So they can act as a powerful referral and marketing tool and give anyone who might be interested in learning more about what you can offer an opportunity to hop on and find out without committing to a meeting with you or a phone call. They also establish you and your company as an industry leader. So you become that valued source that your clients turn to when making decisions about their financial future. They inform, educate, and inspire clients. So they inform them about how you can help and educate them on what steps they need to take next. They also offer open communication in real time. So it's a two-way communication with no delays or barriers between you and your attendees. They also offer open speaker access. So as a medium, a webinar is really that unprecedented access to thought leaders, which is very enticing as a way to build relationships and trust. The best part about webinars is that you can repurpose the content. So it can be modified for different mediums like social media, email, or print. Your webinar toolkit. So this is what you're going to need to host an effective webinar. You'll need video conferencing software. So some of the popular free platforms out there today that a lot of people use are Zoom, Skype, GoToMeeting, and Google Hangouts. You'll also need a laptop with a front-facing camera because when you're presenting, you're gonna want to be on camera and you need to remember to dress appropriately. So dress as if you were meeting your clients face-to-face. And a side note, you'll want to remember your computer charger and make sure it's plugged in so that it doesn't die on you halfway through your presentation. You also may need to purchase an external headset or microphone to improve the overall audio of your presentation. You'll want a strong internet connection to minimize any technical difficulties, and make sure you're in an area where that connection isn't going to cut out and you have a strong signal. Lastly, you'll want a quiet space to present. You want to be somewhere private with no distractions and no noise. And since you'll be on camera, make sure you have a professional looking background behind you. So these are the 4 webinar best practices, the 4 categories I mentioned earlier. So we have plan, promote, presentation, and post-webinar. So these categories will help organize the rest of the best practices I'm going to speak to. So let's start with plan. Under plan, there's 4 areas we need to consider: audience, timing, technology, and team. So with your audience, you really want to know your audience. So knowing your attendees will ensure that you provide value-add content for a successful webinar. You want to think about who will be attending, who your target audience is, and what challenges and problems they are currently facing. What are their long-term and short-term goals? And then you want to think about the information and the actual content you can deliver to help solve their current problems and help them achieve their future goals. Next, you'll want to consider timing. So keep in mind the time zones and personal schedules of your target audience and attendees. Think about picking a date. So studies show us that midweek, Wednesdays and Thursdays are ideal, especially in the summertime when people are usually taking off Mondays or Fridays to extend their weekends. Now you'll want to pick a good time. So late morning, either 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. start is good, because this is after morning meetings are over, people are settled in, and it's right before lunch. Or you could do early afternoon, a 3 or 4 o'clock p.m. start, because at this time, people are actually more apt to learn something new rather than diving into a new project before ending their workday. So technology, you want to pick a user-friendly platform. There's some things you need to consider too when choosing this platform. So look at accessibility. Make sure your attendees can easily download the software for free. Make sure the appearance is user-friendly, visually appealing, modern, and easy to navigate. You'll also want to consider the built-in engagement features like hand raising, chat box, and whiteboarding. You'll also need to think about capacity. So how many attendees does it actually allow? Is there a maximum amount of people that can join at once? You'll also want to make sure that the platform has the right privacy features. So most platforms will actually let you hide the names and numbers of all participants on the line. And privacy is imperative, especially if clients are your target audience. It's important participants know in advance who will be joining the webinar. So if you're using a platform that can't hide participant names, this should be called out in some way to ensure awareness across your audience. You'll also want to personalize your platform and profile. So if you can find a platform where you can include your logo or visual brand elements like your color palette, be sure to do that. And also be sure to include your professional headshot, your full name and contact information to let your attendees know they've arrived in the right place. Think about other equipment you might need too. So as an external headset and microphone, this might be something you need to buy. It will improve your audio quality overall, and make sure your front-facing camera is working like I mentioned earlier. You'll also want to test all of this gear. So make sure you do a dry run ahead of time to sort out any issues that could arise. You'll also want to eliminate any potential sources of excess noise and distraction. Like I mentioned earlier, make sure your other devices are off, your physical space is neat and professional around you, the people around you are quiet enough that they can't be heard, and other computer programs that might be running, make sure those are all shut down. More importantly, you'll need to conduct your presentation on camera. So like I said, show up in a suit and not sweatpants. The next part of plan would be your team. So assign someone or multiple people on your team to help make sure things run smoothly. So your team should be familiar with the webinar platform and equipment so they can troubleshoot on the spot should anything arise. And the host and moderator can take control of this for you so you can focus on delivering the content with ease, worry-free as the presenter. So the next section is promote. So it's time to launch. And as we say, no launch, no results. So this is where we focus on how we can spread the word and grow the number of registrants and attendees for your webinar. So you can create a landing page. Create a landing page on your website and consider even creating a separate tab or drop down dedicated to your webinar content. And registration link. So make sure all the necessary details are there: time, date, topic, presenter, key learnings, and of course the registration link. Next, you can also run an email campaign to your clients and prospects, so you can encourage them to forward to others who might be interested as well. You can do this as a drip campaign. So what I mean by this is roll out your webinar communications over time. So the first email might be to inform and promote your webinar. The next email would be to register, and the last email would be a reminder email to everyone who has registered or might still be thinking about it, and do this at least one day before the webinar. Also, to run an email campaign, you really don't need any kind of fancy software. You just need to simply use your Outlook inbox, for example, and send to targeted lists. So include a subject line and be sure to BCC everyone for privacy purposes again, and enter your own email address in the to field. So you should also have appropriate consent, remember, to email clients and prospects under Castle rules. So next is social media. You can use your social network to spread the word and roll out a series of posts and different visuals to help promote your webinar. Similar to the email campaign, you want to stay top of mind with your clients and prospects. I recommend using LinkedIn because it's your professional platform where most of your clients and prospects interact with you as part of your network on there. You can publish a post, a visual aid, share, and even send direct messages. Lastly, you could create a blog post. So write an additional blog post with visuals to promote your webinar on your website. So when you include a high-level overview or text that's embedded on the back end of your website, you actually improve your SEO results because it's going to pull specific words like products and services and link them back to your website with your contact information. Okay, number 3, presentation. So we're going to talk about how to pick a specific topic for your webinar and what format to use. We're also going to talk about how to properly speak to your products and services throughout your webinar. So picking a topic and title. Your topic should be relevant, informative, and focus on things like money and relationships. You want to think behavioral finances here. So think about the time of year and the demographic of your target audience. Maybe it's the holidays and business owners are interested in end of year strategies, or maybe it's back to school time and families are really looking to save money for college tuition. Remember that people are attending webinars to learn something new. So you need to think about what they are going to get out of it after giving you an hour of their time. So your webinar title and description should include words like how to or learn how in 5 simple steps, because this is going to draw in the highest number of attendees. Examples that I found include no excuses, 4 steps to start saving for retirement now, or learn how to bridge the gap between your finances and health, or save for the future, teach children about finances. So you really want to position yourself as the expert here, as that trusted source that I mentioned earlier, and your topic will demonstrate how aware and in tune you are. So avoid a broad or vague topic. Your topic should be specific and focus on one area of knowledge. So to come up with topic ideas, you could consider going through FAQs. So what are the top questions you get from your clients? You could even use Google Analytics for top traffic pages and do some investigating there. You could ask your team and ask sales what topics they discuss with clients on a daily basis to get a better idea. You could also poll your attendees prior to and pick a topic that way. And then of course you can look at your competition to see if they are talking about any specific topics or ideas that you can adopt and make your own. So next I'm going to talk about format. So once you've decided on the topic you want to cover, you want to select a format to start building out that content, and you really want to break it down so that it's it's divided by more specific subtopics. So formats you could consider too are single expert presenter. So that's where you'd have one expert sharing the tips or insights. You could also do dual presenters. So that's two presenters, and that would help engage and educate your audience. You could also do a live panel. Well, it would be on webinar, but still live or even pre-recorded. You could do a Q&A webinar, you could do interview webinar, or even a product demonstration. And with the product demonstration, you want to make sure you're including lots of visuals to explain the inner workings and the concept behind it. And overall, with any format, you really want to use different forms of media to capture the attention of your attendees and keep them engaged. So add a video or animation, even illustration. You can use whiteboard and draw on screen for them. You want to show clients how it can benefit them. And I think the easiest way to do that for most people is providing that visual element. So C, products and services. So there is always room to promote your products and services throughout your webinar without it becoming this giant ad. So the goal here is to really teach and sell at the same time, and only offer your products and services as an add-on. So you want to front load your presentation with the value add content that your ideal clients will be engaged with. And by the end of your presentation, they're going to be much more open to hearing any kind of pitch you have to make. So remember, the rest of your advice and content should be presented and be able to flow without even mentioning products or services. And you only want to pitch your products and services where and when it makes sense. And just a reminder here, you need to keep in mind which activities constitutes as sales, and only conduct business when you are within your licensed jurisdiction. So after the webinar, post-webinar practices are just as important as the pre-webinar ones. So this is really your opportunity to capitalize on your webinar as an effective marketing tool and nurture those leads. So there are a number of strategic practices we can implement to turn attendees into prospects and prospects into clients. So here we'll discuss the call to action, webinar materials, and how to conduct a survey to track your results as well. So for A, your offer or call to action. So your attendees should know exactly which steps you want them to take next. So do you want them to call you, email you, set up an appointment with you? If you're offering something free, like a guide or a tool, make sure it's accessible and easy to use and can't be found somewhere else. So you want to make sure it's only available through attending your webinar and being present. Next, share webinar materials and recording. So you want to follow up with all of your webinar attendees. You want to thank them for attending and offer them the webinar materials and recording as a reference or something they can share with others. You also want to let attendees know what to expect for future webinar opportunities and communications to keep them in the loop. So conduct a survey. You want to find out what your attendees absolutely loved and what they hated about their webinar so you can improve going forward. Find out how engaged your attendees were. You can even ask them a skill testing question about the webinar content. Give them a voice and ask them what they want to hear about next, so they're really influencing the direction of your webinar strategy. You want to ask attendees to rate the level of engagement and interest and ask them how likely they are to attend again or share with a friend. So you can use this survey data to collect their contact information and follow up with them as a warm lead. Lastly, you want to track your results. So track how many people registered and how many people actually attended. Make sure either way you connect with everyone. So maybe it's an email, thank you for attending, or sorry we missed you. How much time did attendees actually spend watching the webinar, and did they stay connected the whole time, or did they drop off at a certain point, and when was that, and why do you think that was? Think about the top sources of registration. Was it through email, your website landing page, or social media posts? So to finish off, I have some additional tips for the host and moderator. So you want to start on time. Attendees are already giving you an hour of their time. You don't want to waste it. If you lose these attendees, you're also losing potential clients. Prepare, prepare, prepare. So first impressions really matter. Make sure you know the bios of your speakers and you're not shuffling through papers or slides. You want to hook them quickly, so capture their attention immediately. A good hook is what is going to keep your audience engaged and tuned in the whole time. So you want to tell them exactly what they're going to learn and highlight any problems you can help them resolve. You want to make it all sound exciting too and something they can't refuse. So have questions for the Q&A period ready. Just as a backup, in case your audience isn't as engaged as you anticipated, you want some questions to steer the conversation. Expect that things might go wrong. So maybe the Wi-Fi goes down, your computer crashes. Prepare for the worst here and send your presentation to other members of your team just in case, and save a version on an external USB drive as well. So additional tips for the webinar presenter. You want to write a script so that you can properly prepare and create a roadmap for your presentation. Speaker notes will really help keep you on course, but don't be afraid to go off script either. So sometimes you'll need to do this to elaborate and keep your audience engaged and entertained. And remember that the goal isn't to go as fast as possible through your presentation, but you want to convey your message in a way that your audience is going to be able to understand. You also want to practice your presentation. So as we know, practice makes perfect, and you want to sound comfortable, like you know the content like the back of your hand. The goal here again is to be memorable with your attendees. Also plan for interaction. So engage your audience and encourage them to participate. You can ask them questions or provide challenges along the way and try to be conversational. That's all for today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you find these best practices helpful when hosting your next webinar. For more ideas on how you can grow your business, visit www.sunlife.ca/advisor best practices. Thanks. Have a good day.